Yeah. My 30, 60, 90 doesn't change a whole lot, it's just K or KW things.
Turns out helping buyers and sellers is what you do, and that hasn't changed.
Uh-huh.
Do you want the camera like this?
Uh,
How do you want the camera?
yeah,
Okay.
or maybe swing it a little while. I think that makes the most sense. Unless maybe I'll sit up front and.
Something like this, maybe?
I have it. Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
All right, Alexis just let me know she was going to be here in person, had something with her kids, and she'll be zooming in to kind of get the lead and run with us today.
Yes.
I was going to say, Kim, have you had a chance? Have you had a chance?
Yes. Yeah, Kim showed me houses in Florida.
Okay, was that in the?
She's good. They're still they're just gonna. I like to make decisions quickly.
Really, builders are offering 10,000 solar solutions, pools, spas, and $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 off the price
Okay.
for a new build.
In
Okay.
what parts? Is anything in particular in the Southwest?
Everywhere. In fact, I was just reading, and I was going to send to my client. Where is it? Talked about these are the top cities who are just, where is it? Florida. Top cities lowering their prices in Florida. And I'm in Fort Myers, but it's Naples,
Yeah.
everything on the West Coast, but so is Jacksonville. Everywhere in Florida.
Did your house sell?
No, still sitting there.
Do you know of any good rental places for my daughter? She cannot get on campus housing. So we're frantically looking for like apartment and stuff, and she doesn't have a roommate lined up. So I'm like, it's like $1,500 for a studio apartment in Fort Myers, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm like, well, we'll figure it out, but.
Yeah. Well, and I put out a note to all the Fort Myers agents because we're the large group down there.
Okay,
So I will put out a note for you.
okay,
and
thank
tell them
you.
that you're looking for a rental. They do more rentals down there than we do up here.
Okay,
They
yeah,
constantly do rentals down there.
Yeah.
So it's a big part of a lot of people's business.
okay.
Is rentals down there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even if it was like, if there's even like a midterm rental or something that was furnished, even for a few months, so she could meet some people and then like find a place with a roommate or something, but like, otherwise we're gonna have to go down there and like buy a.
Bonnie's even going.
So it's good down there too, which I have to, but,
I know. Consider renting my place, but I already have renters for the high season.
oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like my apartment. That's
Oh, right, the one that by Sanibel.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
It's a little far. It's down by the beach. May screw up her.
But I like that.
She might really like it. May screw up your plans for her going to college,
Right.
The beach today.
Yeah.
Hannah came in and
She's
threw it on
really
the table.
stressed. I'm like, I'm stressed about that, but we're trying to sell ours off. Currently, I'm in closing on Monday, and our other house has to sell, so I got my own. Figured that out. One of the stuff we're gonna do is enact out.
I told the client, she just.
Honey, how are you?
Good, how are
So
you
you
doing?
did everything correctly? We just didn't have any big people come through on Sunday?
Yes, yeah, so I learned how to do things, which I left not like
Got 2 weeks.
I wasn't down about it, cause at least next time I'll go in a little more confident, I know how to open it.
Sometimes, Andy, welcome, come on in.
We had it at six
Yeah,
fifty.
no one can.
We would have loved to have you learn that same lesson and
And
pick up, yeah, pick up a
at
couple.
least have some human interaction, that would have been good.
Well, remove them off.
When someone walked through the door, so that was good.
Yeah. I'll really, finding someone to talk.
Really, because it the last like 20 minutes.
I changed my mind.
All right, Alexis, we see you. Are you here?
Yes, I am here. I am just logging in a couple different ways so I can use my computer and I can also, so you can also see me because I do not have, for some reason, my computer cam is not working.
Okay. Well, as much as we want to see you, I suppose it's,
If
most
it's
of
not
us-
imperative, then I'll just dive right in. Because I
most of
don't,
us are probably interested in the screen share more than anything.
exactly. Okay, perfect. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this one.
There, see, the screen camera is working.
Nope, that was calling in from my phone. I'm gonna leave that. As long as you guys can hear me okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do screen share.
Perfect. We can hear you. Is everybody, is your volume up? Everybody okay with us as we walk through? All right. If you have a chance to get logged into the MLS, that would be a great place to start. I think she's gonna jump right into the, I'm not sure where she's gonna go from there, but
Okay, so as long as everyone is getting logged in, that's the best place to be right now. So this, why don't we start with, now while you guys are getting logged in, I'd love to hear from you. I know that the main thing that we're going to focus on and discuss is actually where are the forms? How do I find them? And the easiest way to find them. And I'm going to navigate that very much so, but is there anything else that any of you have stumbled across or struggled with as it relates to the MLS, North Star, transaction desk, or forms, which is right here? Anything else that you want me to write down and make sure to discuss?
And Alexis, just so you know who's in the room, we've got a few new agents. We've got Kim Ryan is here, very experienced agent.
Yep.
Heather's here, who's been through the process a few times in the last year and a half.
Cool.
So we've got different levels, but is there anything that anybody struggled with or experienced in the last few weeks that you want to make sure we cover specifically? Don't be afraid, because it's a small group. We can, for very specific questions, to make sure you guys get set up with what you need going forward.
Well, I'm interested in pre-filling the all the forms for like a seller's consult.
Great.
Of course, at some point buyers as well, but for short term, I'd love to have them all pre-filled. So when I'm at the meeting, we can get the DocuSign faster. I was on paper because I wasn't ready with the electronic stuff yet, and paper's cool. It'd be cool to move that next step.
Well, that's definitely, I'm gonna go over that, and you're gonna enjoy how easy it can be. Anything else about MLS and searching, or even just this homepage and understanding what this homepage is all about? Kind of a very brief MLS 101 overview.
The only other thing I know, Connie and I discussed, is how this interacts with Command, and whether or not it's how do you navigate it from Command or bring everything over to Command after you've created docs.
That's why
Well, that is not an easy one. I'm just gonna put it out there that MLS, Authentisign, and Instinet and Authentisign are not compatible with Command. It's not like it's easy. So I will say that I'll show you briefly. So no problem at all. I'm gonna write that down.
Actually, at the end of every signing, you get your documents back, and then you can download each document.
that's what I was gonna ask, if you just download them and then upload them.
And then upload
Yep.
them. Yeah.
That's the basics.
I need my new agent to be here.
But I'm gonna show you something that makes it really easy, Kim, especially really important to upload and split tool. So, all right. By all means, interrupt and ask questions along the way. Jason, would you mind managing that from the room? And then just you speak up and let me know if anyone's got a question, because I'm just going to be focused on the computer.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. So this is the homepage or landing page of the MLS. I just wanted you guys to all know that all of these things are movable. Just, you know, point, click and drag. You can move them all over the place. It doesn't really matter. The news that you need to know, and honestly, you guys, you really should be reading news and alerts that come up here. You should always be reading those. That's very helpful. This right here, external links tab, this one is literally my favorite because it connects you to just about everything you could possibly want to know about, data, resources, whether it's forms, showing time, trust funds, realtors property resource. And I know this may sound counterintuitive, and Kim, obviously this doesn't apply to you, but the best way to integrate yourself into being a real estate agent is to jump into the MLS and curiously like dabble and click on things and play around, because once you need it, it's going to feel stressful if you haven't familiarized yourself with it ahead of time. So I highly recommend you spend some time just sitting down with the MLS, clicking on stuff and see where it takes you. The other thing down here I wanted to point out is Market Watch. You can actually do any property type, and then you could do today, 24-hour, 3-day, 7-day. And this is just like a market snapshot. So if someone were to call me right now, and let's just say I was out of town for the last month, or you're a brand new agent and you have no idea where to quickly get data, Market Watch is a really easy, this is this entire MLS, but it's just at a glance. There have been 406 new listings today. There's 63 coming soon. So that's like 469 new properties entered into the market. And there were 164 pending and 207 closed. So we're seeing a huge influx of new inventory compared to what's actually going under transaction. And even just that little tidbit of information might be valuable for you to grab at any time. So I just wanted to point that out really quick. All right, so a couple of different ways for you guys to navigate finding forms. First and foremost, clicking on this transaction desk will get you there, and it opens up a separate tab. I use Chrome. You can use other platforms, and then it comes open here. But I'm going to show you a faster way that connects a property so we'll pick on this house right here. So I just have an active property pulled up. So in practice, you're going to have a property. We're going to start with buyers, but I'll be honest with you, you can do this just as much with a seller. You just have to find either the previous home sale, and I'm going to show you the other way, the alternative way of doing it by going into the transaction desk first and pulling up the data, but let's start from a property first, okay? So whether you have a property that's already sold, or you have a property that's active for sale. So you're working with a buyer right now, and that's the assumption I'm making in this lesson. So I have 501 Main Street, and I'm ready to create some buyer paperwork and write an offer. Either one would exist in this opportunity. So I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to go over to this button right here. See how you hover and things come up? 2 documents. By the way, this means where supplements live. This is to set up a showing. This is how I get into Instanet. I just want everyone to know that if you click the button here and you click on Instanet, it will import all the necessary data about this property into a form, and it'll create what's called a wizard right off the bat. You can see it's a wizard. We're creating a transaction. I use naming conventions. Naming conventions are a consistent way of storing your files. And when I work with buyers, I write the address and then I say, damn it, sorry. See, offer, okay? If this is a listing, I would just keep it as an address. So just distinguishing the difference. So when I go back into my records, I can find the information. And here's a really quick, easy tip right here. Listing packet is for listings, buyer packet is for buyers. And almost all the files are in there, or all the forms are in there. Importing data from the MLS, of course, this MLS number right here, which automatically imported from 501 Main Street, the property that I had highlighted, click the button in the top left corner, and then add me as the buyer tenant agent, because I'm going to be in a buyer position. If this was a listing and I used a listing packet, it automatically switches you to the seller or landlord's agent, okay? Is everyone tracking with me?
Yep.
Okay. Use wizard is how we get the forms to auto-populate. So I hit create. Not really sure why it's taking so long, but. All right. So this is the wizard. See the word wizard right here? It also is right here. See this button right here? I can make that menu collapse or show up. I just want you to know that the wizard, you can, if for some reason you do something silly like save and exit, you can get back into the wizard. But right now, I want you guys to all remember that you have step 1 through 5 in the wizard to fill out the details of the contract that you want to write, and you hit next. You do not hit save and exit until you're done filling out all the way through step number 5. Got it? So it automatically populates that it's a residential sale, transaction status. I never pay attention to that. The only thing I leave all of this stuff in here because it's got the address, it's got the MLS address, MLS number, PID, legal description right here. It has the list price right here. And on step 1 of 5, it's got the purchase price. So if I'm going in to draft and autofill a purchase agreement, this is where I would put the offer price. And then this is where I would put the earnest money. You guys can put whatever you want for your offer price or your earnest money, but I do typically like to do at least that 1%. Just a little side note. I don't put any other information in here because none of it matters for importing into the contract. Does that make sense? Do I click save and exit?
No.
Thank you. Jason, I'm glad you're here today.
I'm glad you gave me an answer yesterday.
Okay, so the list date, we don't have an expiration date because this isn't our listing, but what is important is the offer date. And sometimes, you guys, when you're creating contracts, the offer date is like, okay, are they going to sign the paperwork today or maybe tomorrow? Let's assume they're signing it today, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Acceptance date, not relevant. Oh, closing date, that's going to be relevant. So right now, in closings that you're planning for, you may or may not know what they want to do. But if you do, then you go in and you're like, all right, today is July or June 27th. I don't think that you should set a closing. I mean, the fastest I think you could probably do, unless the lender tells you, is July 26th. But let's just say we're going to go with July 29th. And see this thing, commitment date right here? Don't use it. It doesn't actually transfer to the paperwork, even though if any of you have been in the industry long enough to know that we wish it did go to the right place, but it doesn't. So that's it for this one. It's the only fields I'm going to use. I'm going to go to the next.
Alexis, can I cut you on? So when you talked about that offer date, say it's a late evening or early afternoon and you're not sure if you're going to sub the buyers, is there any issue with that if they don't actually authenticate or e-sign it until the next day?
No, because sometimes it's just when it's written, but sometimes it's, I've ran into clients where they're like, you wrote this contract like 3 days ago and we didn't even know we wanted to write the offer 3 days ago. Like it's more like the accuracy for the buyer client benefit than an issue legally.
Because Authentisign will do an automatic
Auto date. for-
auto date at the end on the last page.
So if they do this ahead of time and things get pushed back a day or two, there's no reason to sweat and create new paperwork.
No, but you can also, before you go in for final signatures, because that final, like right now, I'm just creating paperwork. I'm not capturing signatures yet, right? And I'm gonna get there where I'm gonna show you, we're gonna take the forms and put them into Authentisign and capture signatures. In this wizard's data will autofill into the paperwork. The offer date actually gets autofilled in lots of places, not just on the purchase agreement. It will get put on addendums, amendments, arbitration, CIC, it could be all over the place. So it is kind of an important date. And I would say that before you get signatures, you'd want to make sure that offer date was as accurate as it can be. The night before and the next day, you know they're going to sign. That's not as important. It's more if it's a large number of days and then it doesn't coincide. And then we go to next. This is where the listing agent's name shows up. So it's got seller, agent, seller broker, buyer agent, buyer broker. And then this is where you would add either a new transaction contact or an existing contact. So one thing I will tell you is if you guys have all used Northstar MLS and have your contacts on auto searches, Northstar MLS, Northstar and Transaction Desk do not communicate with each other and import your contacts. So you have to manually import every contact that you're going to put on a contract into Transaction Desk. Okay, see, we're in Transaction Desk right now. So create new transaction contact. So this is where you identify if they're a buyer or a seller. And then this is where you would want to put and then their email address. So I like using their first full name. You have to use their first full name. I like having a middle initial, their last name, and then their email address. And then it defaults to say add to address book. And then it adds them, and you have to add them one at a time. Okay, so I'm just pretending in this scenario that I have one buyer. If you have 6 buyers, you have to add them all. If I wanted to go back, actually, I meant to do this. Once you add them, they never go anywhere. And I have just like, they just never go anywhere. So they're always in there. Like I've had tons of repeat clients that all their information gets saved in there over the years. So it's great to use the system. I don't use DocuSign, you guys. You can use DocuSign if you want, but this tool connects with what's called Authentisign, and it makes it so much easier for my life and my business.
And Alexis, for couples or for multiple buyers, you need separate, this came up, you need separate emails for each person in the transaction, correct?
You need separate identities. So let's say it's Ashley and Michael Johns, and let's say that they have one email address. I will say to a client, I would prefer you guys use separate email addresses. If it ever comes in contest that one of you signed for the other person, the first thing they're going to look at is, did you at least have 2 separate email addresses? I, as an agent, need to do my due diligence to make sure that I'm letting them know with the electronic signatures, 2 separate email addresses, it does matter. So you can't have 2 people on one. Each individual contact record that you put in can have 1 email address and 1 person. So every single person you're putting in has to have their own unique email address. On rare occasions, if someone is over the age of like 85 and they have 1 email address and they are actually willing to do electronic signatures, I would make them write me an email saying, you know, Sally signed and Anthony signed separately via the same email address.
Yeah.
That's called a cover your tail, you know, approach to the business. Like you want to make sure that if you don't have separate email addresses, that you're doing something to protect yourself. So then we go next, and then we're in the forms autofill, okay? The only form, and Hannah, I just saw you walk in the room.
Oh, she's walked out.
She just walked out. Okay, never mind. Well, the only form we're missing right now is agency. So I am gonna go ahead and just show you quickly how to add a form. I know that it's missing. I'm gonna try to get it added automatically. It got bumped out. It used to be there because we create these templates for you guys. But I know what it's called. I type it in the, are you guys all trailing with me? Am I going too fast? I need a little feedback.
We're recording it, so if we need to go back, we can.
Okay, so I type in what I'm looking for. I say agency, here's the form right here. They have it named under 2 different files. It automatic, I click one, they both click at the same time and I'm adding it. So then I know it's there. I don't even pay attention to what else is there. The only thing I might do is go, oh, that's right, this is a condo. What do I need if it's a condo, guys?
Yeah, I see.
Did you hear that?
I did that, yep, I just wanted to make sure someone, so receipt, and then, this is modification waiver and addendum. So this one is addendum to purchase agreement, and this one's addendum to lease agreement. You guys, we have both purchase agreements and lease agreements, and for almost all paperwork, we will have not only a purchase agreement addendum, but also a lease agreement. So pay close attention to what forms you're using. So I add all those. And what other forms that may not be standard might I need to consider adding for my buyer before I write an offer? Any other forms that aren't considered standard that are outside the norm that you guys know you'd have to think about?
Counter offer.
Counter offer, let me see if it's in here. Yeah, it might not be in here. So you could add a counter offer. I usually, it's a great answer. I was thinking more like well disclosure or sewer system disclosure. Something outside of the norm for writing the offer. If I need to use a counter offer, I would go back in later and add it probably versus adding it and having the extra paperwork. But just keep in mind, guys, this is not all of the forms you might need to use. You do have to think critically about what forms do you need. You're going to have to think through from your education and training and revisit, like, what kind of a property is this? Do I need a certain form for this? Because guess what? All of us already are doing that in our business practices. So as much as I'd like to say that we could give you plug and play everything, it's just unrealistic because there's never a one size fits all. And the longer you're in this business, the more you realize no transaction will ever be like. So we got our forms. What's that?
Alexis, one more thing is a lot of times Instinet pulls up lead-based paint addendum. So you have to pay attention to how old the house is that you're making an offer on. Because you don't want to send it if it's not necessary.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm going to get there because it pulls lead-based paint right here. And in an ideal world, we're not sending lead-based paint addendums. The seller, the listing agent should be executing them on behalf of the seller, and they should be part of the disclosures. And then we should be pulling them up via the disclosures when you're representing a buyer. So we're constantly working on these templates, and I'm going to change a lot about them. Like, for example, a buyer's move-in agreement is not going to exist on here pretty soon, because that's, I would never recommend anyone use this form ever, like ever. Okay, documents. So forms are able to be edited in this system. They're template, they're baseline forms that you can edit. Documents are stationary, non-editable forms. They have been uploaded either by us, buyer agent checklist, attorney drafted clauses, or they've been uploaded by the listing agent. Disclosure statement, seller property disclosure statement, CIC plat map, loss and invoice, whatever this is. These are the supplements that were in the MLS. They get auto pulled in. So you guys don't have to download them and upload them into your Authentisign before they get signatures. So then I hit done, and then we're into the transaction dashboard. Okay, if I get lost and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where I am. See this right here? So this is dashboard. That's the agent dashboard. And this is transactions. If you ever get lost in the system, this is where you want to go back to, the home. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I was writing up the offer for 501 Main Street. I'm back in the transaction dashboard. And what would I click on over here if I wanted to get back into the slides that contribute to the autofill of the forms?
So wizard step 4.
What's that?
I'm just guessing wizard step 4.
Yeah, wizard.
With confidence, yeah.
And then wherever you ended it, it's going to bring you back to. But anything in here, you can go to any of the steps and re-enter them. This is where you'd come back to and go offer date. I actually want to change it to tomorrow. So they're definitely not going to sign until tomorrow. Then I hit save and exit. I'm back here. Here are my documents. If I want to look at them, here are my contacts. If I want to add anyone, I can either add it here, or I can go in here and add it in there. If I want to view any of these documents or add any, what document, you guys, might I want to add in this step to be included in my offer? Documents are stationary, not editable. What document would I want to add here and include in my offer? It comes from somebody else, another business partner. It's related to money.
Surety.
Pre-approval letter.
Pre-approval letter, yep. So this is where you would add it. You can either drag and drop, or you can click here to pull it off your computer, but that's where you would add your pre-approval letter. So then you can basically send one whole document all together. Here are all your forms. I like to click go to forms, and then it pulls up the form menu. And then the first thing I do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go, yep, I need this. Yep, I need this. Yep, there's agency. Oh, the house was built in 2010. We're good. I don't need that. I don't need that. And I'm never going to use this. It's not vacant land and it's not new construction. And it's not a land purchase. It's a regular purchase agreement. We need that one. We need that one. We need that one. So then I'm going to go in my basket. So I'm going to click everything that I don't want, and I'm going to go in the basket. I like to keep things organized. You guys get to do whatever you want with your files. I'm just showing you how to do it. I'm going to erase them. Are you sure I wish? Yes, I absolutely do want to erase those. So then it's nice and tidy. And then this is where I actually go. And there's two sections to these forms. One is an offer. What's the other grouping of forms? What do you think you'd call them? One is the offer that gets sent off to the listing agent. And the other set or group of forms, what purpose do they serve?
Those disclosures, Lexus?
They're buyer representation forms, buyer docs. So buyer disclosure and acceptance, buyer representation, affiliated business relationship, and agency. Okay, those 4 forms. If you don't know the answers to this, if you don't know that those are the 4 forms you need for your buyer rep docs, you should be writing it down, because it does not get spelled out for you in any place. Okay, there's no checklist, there's no list, there's nothing you can reference except your notes, and then eventually it becomes your memory. The 5th form that you need related to buyer representation is the disclosure statement, compensation disclosure to buyer tenant. This form is property specific. So it is a buyer representation document. It's disclosing the compensation that you're gonna receive if you represent them on the purchase of a transaction. So it's really important that this actually has the address of the property that they're purchasing. If the seller is paying cooperative compensation, and then what broker admin fee are they paying out of their pocket? Whatever you charge. It could be the minimum is $450. You can charge $450 or anything beyond that. Does that make sense, everyone? And this actually right here would be the day that you're actually writing the purchase agreement. See how it didn't autofill? This is the date that this happens, because save and exit, it'll save everything you just did. What 4 forms do I need for buyer representation?
Buyer rep,
This one, yep. What else?
affiliated.
Related business.
Affiliated, yep.
Agency,
Agency, and what's the last one?
Buyer comp.
Nope.
Disclosure and acceptance.
Buyer disclosure and acceptance, that's this one. This is the buyer disclosure and acceptance, which is a required document of our brokerage. It's specific to our brokerage, and it talks about that you understand who the broker is, that you understand what might happen in multiple offers, what happens with inspections and home warranties, and then your broker commission. So this is a disclosure that goes above and beyond and explains to them what your broker compensation. This number right here has to match anywhere else you're mentioning a broker admin commission. What's the minimum, you guys?
450.
Yep, you can charge anything more than that. And see how it automatically filled in the buyer right here? If there was buyer number 2, it'd be automatically filled in. And then there's my information. Save and exit. So the 4 you need essentially before you show homes is buyer disclosure and acceptance, buyer representation contract, affiliated, and agency. And then when you are writing an offer on a home, then that's when you update compensation disclosure to buyer tenant. It would be premature to send the compensation disclosure with the rest of the buyer rep documents. And no, you should not be doing buyer rep documents when you're writing a purchase agreement. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do, well, actually, we're going to, in the exclusive buyer representation, so it doesn't have a date here because it's not related to a purchase agreement. So this is when you'd fill in when you draft this, okay? So you can use today's date, that's fine. When does it begin? It should begin, this contract should begin the day that your buyers agree to buyer representation, exclusive buyer representation. Does that make sense? So it's not when you show the first house, it's not when you have the first conversation, it's whenever in the relationship your buyer agrees to be represented by you. That date might be the day you draft this, it might be that. This is negotiable how long your buyer representation contracts last. 3 months, I don't think is ever going to be sufficient because you want this document to surpass the closing date. You need to be representing the client all the way through the closing date. I would much rather have all of you have year-long contracts. So June 27th. You see how I just did that, you guys? You can I just want to make sure you're tracking with me and you follow this. So I clicked on, so I'm going to click today. Then I'm going to go, actually, I want to switch it to 2025, June 27th of 2025. So that's 1 year. It auto-filled that. And in my experience, a buyer that wants to cancel, you're going to have a conversation with them about that. Just because you have a representation contract for a year doesn't mean that they are going to buy a house with you. It's a good indicator, but it doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. Retainer fee, you can charge whatever you want. You can see what I use. You get to do whatever you want in your business practice. There is no rule, okay? All of these forms are for you to fill out on your own. This is what I use on all of my contracts. We are moving into a season where your buyer representation contract has to encompass whatever the MLS or whatever the cooperating compensation is being offered. And so if I have in here, if I had in here 2.7 and they were offering 3, it does mean that I am not entitled to 3%. It means I'm only entitled to up to 2.7%. So I always use 3, and then I say I will disclose to you the final agreed upon commission that I'm earning in the compensation disclosure. I don't put anything here. This is a holdover clause, 60, 90 days, not to exceed 6 months. This says brokers authorized to negotiate and receive compensation paid by the seller or broker, and any compensation offered shall reduce any obligation the buyer has to that owes me.
Alexis, can I jump in here quick? Because I noticed you mentioned this when we were talking on Tuesday. Every one of these lines needs to be filled in. If it's 0, it has to represent, and I saw that you filled those in with 0. Can you confirm that?
Yep. You should not leave any line blank. If it's pink in this system, I think you should look at it and consider it and either put 0 or NA. Then there's no question about whether or not you considered it and addressed that line. As you navigate your business and you become more savvy and understand how it all works, you can change to whatever you want. But the best practice would be to address and at least fill in. Even if it's NA, if you leave it blank, it's just not as accurate of a contract. General nature of property. My suggestion for you is that with every buyer, you are putting in as many of these as you possibly can, because you might think they're going to buy a residential personal property, but they might buy vacant land and build a house. It might end up being recreation. I don't even know why that's on there, but whatever. And residential investment. You just want it to be all encompassing. Click all of them for all I care. Doesn't really matter. It just means you're representing them on the purchase of any on any real estate purchase. The buyer directs broker to arrange for qualified closing agent. I'm not going to get into great detail on these because this isn't a forms class. I'm just trying to show you that everything needs to be filled out. I arrange for closings. My buyers agree to dual agency representation, and then it automatically fills in brokerage name, my name, this address, the address for the office, and my phone number. And it's got her email address and her name, and then her signature will go here. And I can go save and exit.
Alexis,
So-
when they go in for the first time to do this, is your contact name, your name and your contact info automatically to fill in, or do they need to create that?
They may need to create it. They're going to have to go in there and navigate that and kind of see. It may pull in from the MLS. I don't know exactly. I don't remember that, but it's good at least to check. And if you don't have it, you can either go in and change it on the back end or just type it in every single time. Do we care if you have your address of the office on your buyer rep agreement? I mean, it's not essential, but it'd be nice to have. It's also really nice to have actually on the last page of the buyer rep contract, this document right here, it actually asks for the buyer's address and phone number. I will tell you guys, it has come in handy to have it captured here, because sometimes I don't like, I'm like, where can I find that really quick? And it just happens to be in my rep contract. So you can put it in for the buyer or not. And for me, I like having this in here because then the buyer knows where I work and what my phone number is and what my email address is. So they never, there's never a question of like that I'm giving full disclosure of my information. I'm going to go into affiliated, which is a Keller Williams Select mandated document. It just says that our parent company is affiliated with some other entities, Title Fusion to be specific. charge this amount. Whether or not you use them is your choice, but it does have to have the client's name in there, and it does have to have the date. So whether or not you do this now or later, it doesn't matter, but when you've already put an address in, it will pop up, the affiliated does pull up the address. If you are doing buyer paperwork and you don't have a property yet, it can be blank because it says or to be determined. It's more important that you get this signed out in a to be determined position than it is that you do it with every single house. You only need this signed once, and it doesn't have to have the subject property on it. And then agency just has signatures, but this is the document that if you hold an open house, actually, you know what, you guys, you should literally carry these with you everywhere. This is never a bad idea to have an agency relationship and real estate transactions form with you. And when you're at open houses between now and August 17th, it is a good idea to have these. This is purely a disclosure statement. And the very first line, Minnesota law requires, early in a relationship, I, as a real estate salesperson, need to discuss with you, the consumer, what type of agency representation or relationship that you desire. Like, you literally can read it, just change the words a little bit. Here are the options. They are listed below. This is not a contract. This is an agency disclosure form only. If you desire representation, you must enter into a written contract according to state law. And by the way, August 17th, it is required for you to show a home that you must either have a buyer representation contract signed or a facilitator contract signed with anyone you show a house to. In addition to that, you need to have this signed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and create what I call my buyer docs bucket. Which ones do I need again?
Buyer disclosure and acceptance, buyer representation, agency relationship, affiliated business.
And which one?
Affiliated business.
All right. Okay, and then 4 of those are in a bucket. I'm going to click the basket. Which icon do you think I hit? Because what do you think comes next?
The pen.
Yes, the pen. Send to new AuthentiSign. And yes, you guys, it is normal for it to, when you're using Instant and AuthentiSign, I think I've spent hours of my life in front of computers watching that little green thing go back and forth. There's a lot of documents, a lot of information. It's putting it into a new folder. So now we're here. The first thing I want to point out is this up here. The very first document, buyer disclosure and acceptance, is what the whole entire signing gets named. So I'm going to go ahead and go like this. And these are my buyer docs. So I'm going to call them and whatever you name it, whatever naming convention you use, remember to change this up here because it saves it in your signings. And if you don't change it, it's going to say 501 East Main Street, buyer disclosure and acceptance. And for me, when I'm working with a buyer, I think of their name. When I'm working with a listing, I think of the property address. You all can be different. I'm just letting you know, I'm giving you a tip that that's how I do it because it's what logically makes sense to me. Then it automatically stacks it exactly how it pulled it in. But the first thing is the menu is over here. So we're at signers. You can click on and off. It can go away and come back. Add participants, add from transaction. And this is where I'm like, well, I'm going to need to sign some stuff. And yep, I'm a remote signer. The buyer's going to need to sign some stuff. And then Do you think I'm gonna wanna send any of this to the listing agent?
No, not that.
Nope. But if I wanted to, what do you think I could name the listing agent as? Would the listing agent be signing anything? Nope. Would they be reviewing anything? Nope. But they can be a CC. And I'll show you that on the purchase agreement. So I have myself and my buyer, select. And then it'll ask me to map signers. Ashley is the buyer one, and yep, I'm the selling agent. That's what it's asking you to do. It just wants to make sure that it puts your signature blocks in the right places. Okay, so then the next thing I'm gonna do is after signers, I'm gonna go to docs. And then for my purposes, because this is what I like my buyer representation to be the last document. I like agency to be the first document. And then affiliated or buyer disclosure and acceptance doesn't really matter. But this goes, the reason I do it this way is this is the most important document that we review first with all of our clients. Affiliated is something required by our organization and it doesn't discuss any money that we're charging. Buyer disclosure and acceptance talks about the broker admin commission, and then the buyer representation agreement talks about the most stuff. So I want them to get through the easiest stuff first and then get to the heaviest stuff last so that they don't waste their energy on the heaviest stuff first. It doesn't matter how you guys do it. Okay. Then we're at tools. So what happens is it automatically moves them around. It stacks them all together. And the only form of all of these that get signatures auto dropped is actually the representation contract. But then I go to tools, I go back to the top, and then I can add my signatures wherever I need to. So the buyer needs to sign the agency representation. The buyer, Ashley, her full name is right here. Auto date, I can drop right there. And then her signature needs to be right there. Buyer disclosure and acceptance, always double check you have the right number right there. Ashley, signature. Every time you pull a signature, it automatically pulls a date. I'm going to toggle back to myself. I'm going to add my signature. And then I'm going to go to the buyer representation contract and make sure that all the signatures are dropped correctly. Yep, I need them to initial there. That's good. Yep, sign and sign. It's already dropped. And sign, and yep, sign. So we're good to go. And then if you hit next, it actually goes finalize signing setup. If I hit send, it automatically sends the invite to sign these forms to everyone that was indicated as a signing participant. If I want to send a personalized letter or note to anyone, I could be like, buyer paperwork. This is to Ashley. Hi, Ashley. I'm gonna save it. And then I hit send and it sends a personalized, otherwise it just sends the standard, basically sign here. Does that make sense and kind of simplify this process a little bit? Okay, that's buyer docs. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna save. And then I'm gonna go back into the home button to get back into the transaction. And then I'm gonna go back to the forms. We've already signed the buyer docs. Now we're gonna go into the purchase agreement and draft the offer. And then this is where you pull up the purchase agreement and you make sure you have all your terms in here. Okay, her name, yep. There's no other buyers. I don't need any other buyers. Okay, we've got $52.50 for earnest money. Main Street legal description. Do I have any? Oh, that's right. She wants the second fridge and the washer and the dryer and the whatever else, and the shelf unit. This is where you put personal property right here. Purchase price. This is how you indicate what money they're putting down. And then you fill out the rest of the contract. I'm not going to keep going because it's 2:48. We've gotten through a lot of stuff. I would say it's a good, I'm happy to come back another time and continue going over stuff like this, but I'm going to just assume we went over all of this in the contract and that you filled it out. Because what this is really more about, you guys get to fill out what the contract is. If it's a pink line, you guys should be paying attention to it and figuring out if you should fill it out. If I'm gonna send a purchase agreement off for signatures, I've already done buyer disclosure and acceptance, contract, buyer represents, the exclusive buyer representation, affiliated, and agency. So now I'm gonna do purchase agreement. I'm gonna do arbitration. And for this one, I'm gonna do addendum to purchase agreement, condo, townhome, cooperative, community interest, common interest community. So for a non-condo document, I typically am only drafting and sending the purchase agreement and the arbitration as forms. So I'm just letting you know, you always need a purchase agreement and you always need an arbitration disclosure. You can have other stuff like addendums. And just to clarify, addendums are used before the contract is executed, and amendments are used after the contract has been executed if you're amending a contract. So I've got these three forms here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the send new Authentisign. I'm going to change the naming convention first, because it's automatically going to pull up 501 Main Street North, and then it's going to say purchase agreement. So I want to erase all that and have it just say something as simple as this: 501 Main Street North offer. Because this is a condo unit, I actually am going to go like this: number 303 offer. You know, because you could write on unit 403 also. So you'd want to differentiate. Now you're going to add participants, add from transaction. I'm going to show you something real quick. I'm going to sign on these, the buyer's going to sign, and then the listing agent, I'm going to put as a CC. So once the documents are fully executed, the listing agent will automatically get a copy of everything signed in the offer. And I'm going to show you what this looks like is sending it personally. So Ashley is the buyer, the listing agent is Ignore, the selling agent is me. All right, then we're going to go to docs. This is one where I'm going to add a document or form. This is the menu that gets pulled up. It starts with your forms first. It lists them first: buyer disclosure and acceptance, all these other things, right? And then it goes down to the bottom and it adds documents. Forms show up with these 2 lines on them. Documents show up with no lines on them, okay? So now I'm going to go to, I definitely want to add the disclosure statement. I'm going to add the CIC plat. I don't know what the loss and invoice is. I'm going to add it for good practice, because I can erase it once I get up here, but I'm going to add those documents. And if you preloaded your pre-approval letter, it would show up right here, and then it would be added to the package. And you can you guys all hear me still?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure, just checking in. It can be added to your overall package. So then when you have your buyer and both you sign everything, it will literally send the pre-approval letter, the purchase agreement, the signed disclosures, and everything to the listing agent. And then remember how I made a custom letter to the buyer for the buyer docs? You can also do that, I think, for the listing agent. Not all listing agents like receiving the offers this way. I don't care, but I will send it this way. And then I will also call them, and I will email them, and I will text them, and I will say, I've sent you an offer via Authentisign. If you would like me to send it as an attachment to an email, I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know. I'd like to discuss it with you. Please let me know when you're available. So please do not ever do the most annoying thing as a buyer's agent, is draft an offer and send it to a listing agent and then go poof and disappear. All right, we're in docs, purchase agreement. Normally what I would do is I'd put a pre-approval letter first. Disclosure statement, this is arbitration. I like that next. Then this is the CIC addendum. Then it's the disclosure statement. So this is in the order I'd want. I like pre-approval letter and then my purchase agreement next. My personal preference, I don't like it when it's all discombobulated. Tools, so this is where I get to the signings. A lot of these forms have auto drop for signatures. you guys need to go through these contracts and see is this dual agency? If you've clicked line 408 and it does not apply, you click on here and you click delete. Nobody signs this if it's not dual agency. Pay attention to everything you need to sign, like read your contracts, do it ahead of time. It drops her signature and her name. It drops where she needs to sign here. You don't do final acceptance date. The party that is the last signature will actually fill this line in right here. Drops that. Now it goes to arbitration. These are optional, and it'll show that when they get it via Authentisign. And then it goes to the CIC addendum. You need to put in the date there. I didn't do that. It drops the signature automatically there. And then it pulls up the disclosure statements, but it does not drop. Documents are static. They do not. So here we go. So we've got, this is where you would take the buyer, toggle down, drop her signature there. And then we're going to look at whatever. Oh, there's the building plat map. That's good information. It's fine if it's in there. No big deal. Oh, they just had the heating and air conditioning done in this building. This is this individual. That's fine if it's in there. Loss of still water from gas and management. This is some condo doc stuff. And actually, I'm starting to realize, look at how long this is. This is actually they're giving the condo docs to the buyer. I am okay with this being in here. That's why it took so long to load. So the 10 days starts, the 10-day right of rescission starts as soon as the buyers execute this. So then let's just assume you have all your signatures dropped, and actually there may even be a resale disclosure certificate in here somewhere. You'd want to look for it, because if it's in here, you definitely want the buyers to be signing it. A lot of docs. They charge a lot of money for these, by the way. It's crazy. Rules and regulations, really important that, and just so you guys know, I don't read these. I ask the buyers to read them. I tell them I don't read them because I'm not trying to interpret any of this information for them. It's really important they know what they're buying into. Okay, it's not in there. So I'm going to go to next, and then customize invites. So I can only write a custom letter to my buyer or to me. So when you do a CC, you can't send something custom to the listing agent. But the reason I use the naming convention that I do, which is 501 Main Street North, number 303 offer, that's what the subject line will be to Cheryl Larson when she gets CC'd the documents. And then I ultimately hit send, but I'm going to hit back. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to get out of here. I just want you guys to know that if you click on the pen, these are all your signings. This is where they live. So you can find it again. You can navigate through this. I'm going to go back. I'm going to save. And then if you need to find your transactions, these are the two most important places for you to know where things live. Either your transactions live in here, which are all your transactions that you pull paperwork on, or your signings. Okay, so you can find your buyer paperwork or your offer. See how I have offer, I have buyer paperwork, I have offer. It just helps keep everything very simplified. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go back to my matrix, which is the home page, and I'm just going to go into transaction desk directly from here. and I'm gonna go, okay, it opens up to my agent dashboard, but I wanna show you guys that if you go down to the second to the bottom one, if you see this, it's called templates. You can go transaction templates. And you can go, I need to start a listing, or I need to start a buyer packet. It lives right here. So if you want to start a listing, transaction template. How do I do it? Why isn't it working? I don't think your guys' shows up like this because I have edit access because of my role. So I don't, but this is where you find them. I'm sorry.
We'll jump into these and make sure they're, with each one of the new agents and make sure that the templates look like they're supposed to.
Yeah, but this is how you find it. This is how you find where the templates are. And you can go here into transactions. So just ignore that I did that. I'm just letting you know where the templates are. So let's just go, here's another way of doing it. There's multiple ways of doing this. I'm just trying to give you the best and fastest way. So we're here on the agent dashboard. If I wanted to start a new signing, I could click right here. I'm going to go to my home. I always go to my home because that's the easiest thing to find. So I'm in my transactions. I want to create a new transaction, whether new buyer or new listing. Oh, look at that. It's got a wizard box. And I'm going to do, what are we going to create? A hinders buyer docs. I'm going to go, oh, there's the buyer packet, or I'm going to go 1798th Street is the address of the listing I'm going to list. So I'm going to go, oh, I'm going to do my listing packet, select source. I don't have to actually know the MLS number or the realist data. I can actually go, I'm going to say, and then it's got the MLS data and then realist. Oh, you do have to know it. I'm sorry. I thought you could search for it right here. So if you have an MLS number, you can go and put it in here. If you have the realist PID number, you can put it here, the tax ID number and the county. Okay, does that make sense, everyone? Well enough sense if you're trying to, and if you're not trying to autofill it and you just want to fill everything yourself, then you go select source, keep it blank. You're gonna, because this is a listing packet, and I just have the address, and you're the seller agent, use wizard. I'm gonna just show you, it pulls nothing in, but here we go. So this is, you can fill in everything yourself. So let's pretend it's a property that has no previous sale, as you can't find the tax records, and then you can fill it in. And once you fill it all in, you hit save and exit, and then you can, you basically end up back over here. And it saves everything you do, by the way.
Alexis, to clarify, if you're looking at can you pull an old MLS number from a previous listing, the same property? Will it autofill?
Absolutely, you can pull any MLS number that exists in history. So let me do a couple of things. It's 3 o'clock, you guys. I had an hour. I know this is a deep dive. It's a lot of information. My brain hurts just from trying to think about the best and most concise way to communicate this. And I know you guys wanted me to talk about getting it into command, but do you want me to show you quickly how I would search for, like, do any of you have a house that you own that I can do a search for that isn't actually on the market, and I can show you how to find the data?
You can do mine, Alexis, 7138, 131st Circle.
7138.
Just
And
leave it at
then
that.
131st, right? Okay, here's a tip for everyone. If I use an asterisk and I go 138, it would mean it starts with. And if I go like this, asterisk 138 asterisk, it would mean that the street name contains 138. This is a great lesson for everyone because sometimes we'll have like high view like that. And sometimes it'll be like this, and I know that, and so I'll go like that, and it'll pull all properties that are at 7138 with high in the street name.
Mine's
So-
131st, 131.
Yep, 131. So we've got one match. It closed, so here's the MLS number. Okay, so that's the property, and this is what I do, guys. And then I highlight and copy, and then I can transfer it to over here. See, I'm gonna get into the wizard. Remember, it didn't have anything in it. Ooh, I don't know if I can start over. No, I can't. I don't know how to do that. That's too difficult right now. Let me see. Okay, so you find it there, you highlight, and then I'll do another one.
32, okay,
What?
I was gonna give you mine, but go ahead, you're doing great.
So here's history. You can pull any one of these, but let's say you don't want to use the previous MLS. You guys, this is my house, and it used to be so ugly. So fascinating. I haven't seen that picture. If I want to, I can go to tax, and I can go to the, it's not making it any easier. How about this? Let's go public record search. Let's say you have a, do any of you have a, someone we could look up and find their address without knowing their address, but just have their name?
Go Maher, M-A-H-E-R. Sarah,
Any particular county?
Hennepin.
There's 54 matches. That's few enough. Who are we looking for?
My wife, Sarah.
Sarah Maher, on 34th.
Yep.
All right, so then what you do is you can go like this. Copy. And then you can create a new transaction, template listing packet, select source realist, select county, Hennepin, and then you can drop the tax ID, make sure to get rid of the spaces ahead of it, and then you can go Maher listing, and then go create. And this is what happens when it's pulling from tax records. It's not as much, but it still has a lot of stuff. Got it?
Got it.
Woo-wee. All right. So once you guys log in, now we're in command. The best thing you guys can all know about command is all of your contacts need to be in first. The very first thing you ever do in command is put contacts in. Period, end of story. Past contacts, sphere of influence, and then current contacts. You can't do much in command until there's a contact created. Okay, so you have to make sure they're in your contacts, which is the second button down. You can't even put a command opportunity in without putting them in. Okay, add contact right there. We're going to deal with opportunities, which is how you load your documents. I'm going to create an opportunity right there. And this is the market center. The opportunity type, let's call it a buyer. Client, look at, they have to be a contact. You have to search for them. Co-buyer, one client contact at a time. Okay, so if Jonathan had a spouse or a co-buyer, they would go in the co-buyer search, and then the opportunity name, this is where you can change it to say the address or whatever you want to do, but it defaults to this. Custom tags, that's up to you, closing date, you're gonna have to put all this stuff in. To be honest, I don't know what it all means, but I just know that when it has a red asterisk, I just give it my best guess. I'm just trying to get to this point right here, okay? Which is, I got past that, input page. And this is where, this is the landing page where it's got all the information about this contact, and see how I can like hover over. This is where I can go there. Oh, they're in the United States. This is 7134. It actually pulls from a map function. Good enough. Okay, so it pulls the address. Property type is residential. Classification is resale. And then I'm going to hit save. So then you have the property address in here. And then you can do key dates. All of this stuff is actually really important, guys, to actually put in when stuff happened, because then it helps you track stuff better. But that's not the point that I'm trying to get to right now. Documents, that's where I'm trying to get. I'm trying to upload docs. First and foremost, I have to do pick checklist type. Minnesota residential is the first step. Then I'm going to do consultation. Consultation is what? What documents are needed? What kind of documents are needed under consultation? What did I call them?
Buy rep docs.
Thank you. All right. So what I'm going to do is you can actually go here. When I do my files, I save them as groups of files all together. I don't save them as individual documents, right? Most of the time when we get our paperwork back, we're going to download it and it's going to be all 4 pieces of paperwork together. So they're separated here. You do have to upload them separately. But I'm going to show you a trick to make it really, really easy. And this is a compliance requirement. Okay, it's a brokerage compliance requirement. See this 3-dot button right here? Everyone see that?
Yeah.
I can see you guys, so you can nod. Okay, you're gonna hit this button and you're gonna go split and attach PDF. And I'm gonna go, do I have any docs?
So Alexis, what you've done is after you've got all these documents signed, you save them to your laptop out of the emails and signatures and downloads, correct?
Yep. I'm just trying to look for some buyer docs that actually, so I can actually do this for you guys. I'll just make it easier. So now this is signed paperwork. You can see you actually signed it. View signed PDF. This is the download button on my computer. I'm gonna just put it into download. I already have it downloaded. I thought I could find it easily enough. I didn't. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here and go back into opportunities. And I have my download button right here. I can literally go like this. And then go next. It automatically pulls it in. You can see that I had agency first, like I told you I like to do. Split and attach pages. Attach pages too. I'm going to hit a checklist item. Agency relationships is this one, and it's page 1 and 2. So I'm going to go 1 and 2, and then I'm going to name it. It's called agency, and then I'm going to attach more pages. I'm going to go to 3, That's gonna be affiliated, page 3. Affiliated, I'm gonna attach more pages. I'm gonna go to 4. Just so you can see it. Buyer disclosure and acceptance, buyer disclosure and acceptance, KWS, KWFSD. It's what I call it, is Keller Williams Select Disclosure, and that's page 4. Page 4, and then page 6 is attached. Oh, no, I don't want to do 6. I just want page 4. Attached pages to buyer exclusive right to represent is page 6 through 10. And this is buyer rep, and I'm going to split and attach selected. Did I make up a, or is this an actual? I suppose I could erase it. It's fine. Because and then you're going to see all of a sudden they're going to show up right here. Got it? And once you have all your files here, under each of these sections, you hit submit to MC for compliance review. And then under contract, you do the same thing. You go here, split and attach. You try to find the docs, you upload them and you split and attach them. It's the easiest way to get your docs in here. I know that was crazy fast to go over that. But the best thing you can do is practice. Because I could do it a million times, but until you get your hands on it yourselves, it's harder to understand. Once you have all your requireds and any conditional that actually apply, you hit submit to Market Center. And then you come over to offers and commissions. And if you have a file that is going to close at any point in the future, it is required that you have all of your documents uploaded 2 weeks before closing, so they can go through the compliance process. And you can fill out this offers and commissions. That needs to be done before closing actually happens. And that's how Kelly, the MCA, calculates your commission and cross-references what you think you're going to make with what the check is that she receives. They teach a class on how to calculate your commission. So I don't have to go into that right now. That would be a good one. That's like a whole hour on how to do it. So,
We're gonna have Kelly and Connie in for that one
yeah, that'll be good.
to make sure, because getting paid is important.
And you guys, I know this is just like a brief overview. And I mean, it was really extensive. But I'm happy to come back. And I think the key to all of this is it just takes practice. And it just takes messing around with it. And like, if you've never done one, did you see how I like asked you guys for addresses? Like I want to see where my friend Kelly lives. So I'm going to use, Kelly Johnson. Where does Kelly Johnson live in Dakota County? Like go practice with stuff and then create files for people that don't exist or that you don't yet have as clients, or create purchase agreements and send them to yourself for signature. So you see what they're like. You see what your clients are receiving. Because if you wait until it happens, I don't know who was in there that said I wasn't ready and paper was fine. If you wait until it happens, it's pretty stressful. Or if you wait until you need it, it's pretty stressful.
That was Adam. He raised his hand off of camera.
Okay.
No, Alexis, this has been a great overview. Now we'll take this and we'll build some practice assignments out of it and start identifying where we still need to work.
Great. I'm happy to come back at any time. You guys just need to let Jason know that you want me to come back. I'm going to be teaching a class on MLS 101 in July. I can dig deeper into forms and how to fill them out and what the clauses say and mean and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So you guys, I'm the Minnesota managing broker. If you have problems or issues, you text me let me know you need my help and I'll call you back. If you don't need immediate reply, email me. If you have questions about things like forms or things that are not problems or issues, essentially, you should rely on, if it's not Jason, then it's agent of the day. And I won't be able to help you with like best practices or anything like that. I mean, I still transact real estate, so I'm here as a issue solving issues and dealing with problems and helping you solve complex situations. So you're more than welcome to call me at any time for any reason, but I will clarify if it's really not. I try to stay in my lane. If that makes sense, guys. I can't be helping everyone all the time.
Thank you, Alexis. We promise we'll get some practice in before that MLS class next month.
Super awesome.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
have a great day, everyone. Good luck practicing.
Yael, are you still in Colorado? You seem to be smiling. I'm guessing that's the case. Yep, there's a big thank you there. Great. Yael, any questions, any comments before we you get back out and go hiking in the mountains? Right. Thanks for joining us. We'll check in and see you back here in Minnesota soon.